Locked On Dolphins. Today is Friday, August 19th, 2022. And today on the show, we are looking at storylines to watch for the Miami Dolphins and their second preseason game of the 2022 preseason.
You are Locked On Dolphins, your daily Miami Dolphins podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's going on, Dolphins fans? Kyle Krabs, your host here on Locked On Dolphins, lifelong Miami Dolphins fan, director of scouting at thedraftnetwork.com, and your host here on Locked On Dolphins. I want to thank you guys for making Locked On Dolphins your first Miami Dolphins listen of the day. There's a lot of great Dolphins podcasts that are out there, and for those of you who choose to start your day with Locked On Dolphins, I tip my cap to all of you. And, of course, anybody else who has the great taste in life to end up rooting for the Miami Dolphins in the first place. But today is Friday, August 19th. The Dolphins play preseason game number 2 tomorrow against the Las Vegas Raiders. And I think there are some very interesting storylines to be had here from both an internal perspective for just the Dolphins, but then also for the matchup against a Raiders team that has some tough challenges and some position groups where I think the Dolphins actually have an inherent advantage on their side, too. This is the Dolphins' first home preseason game of the season. So we're going to start with the home team, and we're going to be focused on what I'm looking for and what I'm most interested in exclusively in regards to the Dolphins. I think anytime you have a conversation about this Dolphins team with how things have gone thus far in training camp, how much players are going to play is a big mystery, right? And I am not one of those who reads into how many interceptions were thrown by quarterbacks at practice this week and say, oh, well, they need the reps if they're throwing picks in practice, because different install portions of your training camp, again, you're not going to just run your bread and butter, and you have to put players into disadvantageous situations for game time situation stuff, so you know what you can do and you know what you can't. If you got to go the full length of the field and you don't have any timeouts and you're in a 2-minute offense situation, you're going to have to create some chunk plays, right? And that's just an example of that as I reflect on what the reporting this week, you've seen how many interceptions Tua Tagovailoa throw, and Tua said he wants to play, and those things to me are not correlated or related at all. But yes, I absolutely want to know how much time are we going to see with the ones, and is that going to include names like Teron Armstead? Will it include Tyreek Hill? We would have to assume, as things currently stand, that it will not include one Jalen Waddle, who's been held out of practice for the last couple of days, or at least the last public practice, or one that was able to be reported on. Jalen Waddle held out, acknowledging a preventative maintenance mentality for the Dolphins and Jalen Waddle. So I don't expect we'll see Jalen Waddle, but if Tyreek Hill is ready to go, are we going to see Tyreek Hill? Are we going to see Chase Edmonds running behind this offensive line? Is Raheem Mostert ready for contact in a live game situation? Defensively, Javon Holland had a phenomenal week at practice, and there's all these rave reviews from everybody who was around practice on Holland making impact plays, and both in the red zone and in the open field. Will we see Javon Holland play? That is, for me, the number one storyline internally for the Dolphins, is how much of your best players are actually going to get run in this contest, because traditionally you've had 4 preseason games. This is the second year of having 3, right? And everybody kind of chooses to do this a little differently, but traditionally when you've had 4 preseason games, year 1 was a possession or 2, Or game one was a possession or two. Game two was a quarter. Game three was probably a half. And game four was exclusively your third string guys that you're evaluating to see who's going to actually make the roster. Well, from a 3 preseason standpoint, are we going to use the third preseason game as an exclusive evaluation window for third string guys? And if we are, just know that means this is it, right? Like, and we don't know what Mike McDaniel's thought process or ideology is there, but I'm inclined to believe we will see the most and the biggest portion of Dolphins starting players this weekend against the Raiders as compared to next weekend against the Philadelphia Eagles. So that does make for a very storyline as far as I'm concerned too, in kind of the unknown with a new coach and this kind of being uncharted waters for everybody in its entirety. Who's going to get run? How much run? Is this the last chance to get run? Great questions. Very great questions. Now, I don't look at the defensive side of the ball, and I don't see too many needs for chemistry and gelling. And like, I'd probably still hold out on Xavier Howard. I'd probably still hold out on Melvin Ingram. Chris Wilkins, like, does he need to play? No. But the offensive side of the ball, I think with a new system once again this year, I certainly think there's benefit to be had there. And I think that's a really good opportunity for us to start to shift gears a little bit and talk about the team that the Dolphins are going to be facing, the Las Vegas Raiders. Raiders' new coaching staff, a familiar face at defensive coordinator, Patrick Graham, was the Dolphins' DC in 2019 under Brian Flores. Josh McDaniels, the new head coach here for the Raiders. And the Raiders defensively have a couple of really big impact players. Now, the availability of those players in the same light of everything that we just talked about for the Dolphins, I don't know how much Max Crosby is going to play. I don't know how much Chandler Jones is going to play. Trevon Moehrig, the second-round safety, is a really nice player too. But defensively, the rest of this group, this is a really good group for the Dolphins to get some run against and get a chance to try to run the football and see what kind of momentum they are able to build offensively against a team that has starting linebackers, Divine Diablo, who's a third-round pick last year and was a safety in college, Denzel Perryman, who is more of a between-the-tackles type player, and then either Kenny Young or Jayon Brown as the third backer. That's a really good group to try to test your ability to run the ball against. So, too, is an interior that has Jonathan Hankins, Baal Nichols, Andrew Billings, Kyle Pico, Tyler Lancaster, a couple of rookies. There's a lot from a matchup standpoint that I like what the Dolphins should be able to accomplish in this game against the Raiders defense. And because of that, I do want to see more of the starters than what we had a chance to just get the sampling of. And if we can get the run game going as a part of that, that's absolutely an expectation that we need to have. We need to see the running game really build some momentum as compared to going against Tampa Bay. And then the other one, the other preseason game being against the Philadelphia Eagles, who are absolutely loaded with their defensive front as well. This is the game. You got to run the ball this week against the Raiders. That's the number one thing that I'm looking for when the Dolphins have the football. Guys, you got to level with me. We've all been there before. Maybe you had a couple bills that snuck up on you. Maybe you can only afford to put a half a tank of gas in the car. Maybe you got another save the date with a yet another wedding gift that you've got to buy. If you're living paycheck to paycheck or struggling to make ends meet, it's really stressful when unexpected expenses come up. Now Dave can get you out of a pinch when you really need it. Hindsight is 20/20 and you can't change the past, but what if you can get a little help from future you? Maybe you'd like to borrow a little cash. Now you can with Dave. Dave is the banking app that can help you get up to $500 instantly with extra cash. That's more money to fill your tank, buy a wedding gift, or catch up on bills. There's no interest or credit check that's needed. Millions of people have already downloaded the Dave app to get the financial relief they need with extra cash. So if you're in a pinch and you need some extra help, download Dave and think of it as a helping hand from future you. Download the Dave app in the App Store right now. That's DAVE. Sign up for an extra cash account and get up to $500 instantly. For terms and conditions, go to dave.com/legal. Instant transfer fees apply. Banking provided by Evolve, member FDIC. Future you. Well, thank you. As I look at the rest of the Raiders roster, and I would readily admit there is some mystery here for who will ultimately end up playing and who will not. I would expect you probably won't see too much of Davante Adams. You probably won't see too much of Derek Carr. But look, the Raiders played in the Hall of Fame game. This is their third game. So they do have 4 preseason games this year. This might be an opportunity for them to get more of the starters that are out there. Josh Jacobs in the Hall of Fame game was out there in the second quarter. And this was the presumed starting running back. But even as I look at the rest of the offensive depth chart for the Raiders, even if the Dolphins don't have all of their ones going when the Raiders have the ball, I'm going to read you a couple names. John Simpson, left guard. Andre James, center. Lester Cotton, right guard. Alex Leatherwood, right tackle. Brandon Parker, right tackle. Jermaine Lubinor, right guard. Hronis Grasu, center. Dylan Parham, rookie, third round, Memphis. Jackson Barton, offensive tackle. Thayer Munford, rookie, Ohio State, 7th round. If the Dolphins' defensive front is as good as we think that it is, you should win this matchup no matter if Wilkins is playing, Sealer is playing, Jenkins is playing, Davis is playing, Agba is playing, you name it. These guys are pretty phone booth type guys. They really are at their best when they can trigger vertically and try and create vertical push. I think that plays into the hands of what the Dolphins do best. And I would also look at the rest of their skill group too. Darren Waller just returned to practice this week. I don't think you will probably see too much of him. The rest of the tight ends, Foster Moreau, Nick Bowers, Jacob Hollister, Jesper Horsted. The wide receivers beyond Davante Adams and Hunter Renfrow are Mac Hollins, Keelan Cole, Tryon Johnson, DJ Turner, Justin Hall, Dylan Stoner, Isaiah Zuber, Chris Lacey. I understand you've got some depth issues in your secondary if you're the Dolphins. But if we said Davante Adams doesn't play or he plays a couple of series and Hunter Renfrow makes a cameo and that's it, and we got Mac Hollins, Keelan Cole, Tryon Johnson, and Dylan Stoner as the pass catchers for the rest of the game for the Raiders, your expectations for Noah Igbenogany, Mackenzie Alexander, Nick Needham for as long as we see him, they're high, and they should be high. So I think this is a really interesting layer here is the depth of both of these rosters combined. And I think Miami, I didn't mention Keon Crossan either at corner. I think Miami has more depth at their on both sides of the ball, and I think the deeper this game goes, the more it will skew in their favor. But I'm also ready to kind of say up front that I look at these rosters, and I think Miami has an advantage on the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball, barring any participation, this is important, from Chandler Jones and Max Crosby. Jarrett Stidham's been a productive player in the preseason thus far for Josh McDaniels and Mike McDaniel. So I think that is one area for the Raiders that I'm eager to see how a hot hand like Jarrett Stidham thus far in the preseason handles getting met by what the Dolphins have from a talent and personnel perspective. Fun storyline, too. Nick Mullins is the third-string quarterback. Of course, Mullins played under McDaniel in San Francisco with Kyle Shanahan as well. But I just looked these rosters up and down, and Miami's got more depth. Miami's at home. The Raiders, if they come out and they say we're going to give the starters a half, I think that may change the dynamics. But my expectations for the Dolphins is to win the line of scrimmage on both sides of the football, and you should be able to have a lot more success. Tampa Bay, they've got a really gifted group of wide receivers, whereas I think the Raiders roster being a little bit more top-heavy is something that plays into Miami's advantage because, yes, Miami's corner room might be a little top-heavy, if you will, but that's because of the quality of the players at the top. I still think they've got a lot more depth at their disposal to roll with. Speaking of rolling with, life is full of twists and turns, but it's important to show up for yourself through it all. BetterHelp Online Therapy will assess your needs and can match you to your own licensed professional therapist in less than 48 hours. It's not a crisis line. It's not self-help. It's professional therapy done securely online, available to people worldwide. You can log into your account anytime and send a message to your therapist. You could schedule weekly video or phone sessions, so you don't have to be on camera if you don't want to. Getting therapy is as easy as a few clicks from your laptop or phone. With therapy, it can take a few tries to find the right fit for you. BetterHelp makes it easy to change therapists if needed. It's more affordable than traditional offline therapy, and financial aid is also available. Visit their website and read the testimonials that are updated daily. We have a special offer for our listeners. Get 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/lockedon. That's 10% off your first month of online therapy at BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedon. Little word for the wise here as we get ready to roll down on a Friday here on the show. If you completely non-related football talk, but we are going to be a little shorter today than you guys are probably associated with. I feel you guys are owed the explanation. You guys ever get meat, buy meat, put it in the freezer and freeze it so that you can thaw it out and eat it later down the line? Do me a favor. If you ever get meat, put it in the freezer to freeze it, to thaw and eat at a later time. When you unfreeze it, don't put it in the fridge and forget about it for a couple of days and then cook it, because it turns out even like once it's thawed, like that shelf life gets real bad real quick. I cooked up some beef over Wednesday night, midday. And by Wednesday night, I was hurting big time. And fortunately, I had gotten the Thursday show knocked out ahead of that. Now it's Thursday, and I'm knocking out the Friday show, and I feel like Jordan playing a flu game here. It's been a rough 18 hours for your guys. So the timing worked out well, because if I wasn't going to cook it and eat it this week, I was going to cook it and eat it for part of the game day experience for the Dolphins over the weekend. We don't have that problem now, and hopefully this whole thing is flushed out of the system. But a little bit of self-sabotage for your boy here as we bring this week down to a close. So we're going to get ready and wrap this show here momentarily. And I know you probably see 22 minutes on the feed and say, what the heck, Kyle? Like, we got a game to get ready for. And you're right. We do have a game to get ready for, which is why I got to go get some rest. But my final big picture thoughts, I think, are important to express with you guys before we hop off here and get into the weekend. Number one prerogative, let's get out of here with no injuries, right? Of course, anytime you play an exhibition game, if you were to lose a player for an extended period of time, that hurts. And we just went through that experience last week with Trill Williams and the news that came down through, and the team having to pivot and readjust the cornerback room. So number one prerogative is let's get out of here without any injuries at all. This is not just, let's not get the starters hurt. Let's hope we get out of here with nobody hurt. I think one thing that the Dolphins should be able to enjoy in this contest is it's before college football season starts. So you don't have to worry about the Canes sharing the field, and like the turf should be pristine. By turf, I of course mean grass. At Hard Rock Stadium. For everybody who's going to be in attendance, I hope you guys enjoy. I'm a little jealous, but airfare is not what it once was, and it doesn't make sense for me to fly down for a preseason game if I'm going to be coming down in a couple of weeks for the season opener against the Patriots. So, Kyle Krabs, your host here on Locked On Dolphins. Final run through the checklist. Nobody gets hurt. Clamps in coverage. On the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball. Doesn't matter who's playing. That's what my expectations, my wants are for this contest between the Dolphins and the Raiders. Hope you guys enjoyed. Fins up. Enjoy the game tomorrow. Keep it locked in right here on Locked On Dolphins. We'll be back with a post-game episode of the show. Tell you everything we saw when we get a chance to get our hands on the tape. So you got that to look forward to. So hit subscribe and keep it locked in right here on Locked On Dolphins.